go start recording. Okay, let's delete that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the front view here, and I'm going to drop in a shoulder bone here. So I'm just going to go to my joint creation tool, and what I want to do actually with this shoulder here is I want to place it, and then yeah, we'll just draw it in here. I'll just go ahead and draw that in, hit enter. I'm going from the shoulder here to the wrist. I'm going to hit enter here, and what I want to do is I'll kind of I'll pull it back a tiny bit so it's kind of in the shoulder here, like that. And then if I go into my perspective view here, what I want to do is I want to take this forearm here, and I want to go to my options here, or my attributes, and I want to make sure that the rotation in the joint orient down here is all zeroed out. So I'm going to zero that out. And so the joint orient's all 0, the rotate's all 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to position the elbow with just rotating from the very top here. So I'm just going to go like this, and I'm just going to rotate that into position to where I want it in the elbow. And if I want it to come down a bit, I'm just going to take this guy and just pull him along the X here. So that's how I position that guy. And then to get this lining up with the wrist here, what I'm going to do is actually what I should also do at the very beginning here is I should look at this, and I'm going to go to display, same as we did with the spine. I'm going to go transform display local rotation axes, and X is the primary again, and Y is the secondary. So this looks fine minus the very wrist here. You can see that it's kind of headed the wrong way here. So again, I can just go into joint orient and just zero that out. And then I can just, to position this, I can just kind of pull up a bit. And to position it forward is I take the second joint down here, which is going to be our forearm. We'll call this forearm. Actually, I think I'm going to go with lower arm here. Lower arm. And then I'm going to go with upper arm here. You can kind of name this how you like. And then this one, I'm going to go wrist. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lower arm here. And so right now, the arm's totally like in a straight line here because I've zeroed everything out for rotation. And all I'm going to do is hit E here, and I'm just going to rotate it on the Y to get it in position. You see that? And if I'm unhappy with its location still, I'm going to go back up to the top, and then I'll just rotate that up a bit to get that wrist in place. And then if I'm not quite happy with where the elbow is, I'll just rotate it in a tiny bit. Like what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to split the difference, but also keep on the forearm here. I just want a single rotate value here. And this is called a planar chain. It's all the joints are on the same plane basically. So again, I'm kind of splitting the difference. Oh, hang on. Let's grab the top one here. I'm positioning it just using the top bone, and then using that to kind of place the wrist and the elbow. Okay, so those are named, and I also need my collarbone in here, as you guys or your clavicle here, which you guys mentioned. So maybe I'll just go in and create a bone for the clavicle here. I can do this in the front or the side. I think I'll try it in the front here. And I'm just going to mark it maybe around this point here. And I'll call this one clavicle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my spine here, and I'm going to just drop my clavicle into middle mouse click and drop it into my, I think I'll try spine 2 here. No, that's the wrong one. Let's try spine 3. Drop that into spine 3. That looks good. And then I'm going to take my upper arm and drop that into my clavicle. There we go. I'm going to grab my clavicle, and I'm going to do a display, transform display, local rotation axes. And you can see here that I do have an issue with the rotation on this guy. So again, we want the X pointing down the joint, and then the Y as the secondary. So to fix this, I'm just going to go to skeleton, orient joint. And now rather than orient children of selected object joints, I just want to actually orient this one. So I'm going to turn that checkbox off here. So you can either do all the way down the chain, or you can just take one and orient it. So I'm going to go X primary, Y secondary, and I think I want Y on the, I want the secondary, which is the Y, on the Y positive. So I'm going to go Y positive here, and I'm going to hit apply. And it says cannot perform joint orientation. Transform upper arm has non-zero rotations. So to fix this, I just need to go to my upper arm here, and I'm going to go to modify. I think if I go freeze transforms, that's going to go all the way down the chain there. I'm going to go to my clavicle again and go to skeleton, orient joints, and let's try this again. And I'll try orient. There, it's fine now. So I just had to apply the transforms on my upper arm. And what you'll notice on the upper arm is, notice the rotations have dropped from this column in your attributes. It's dropped from the upper column to the lower one. So that's just something to be aware of. Let's have a look at what's done to our lower arm. You'll see that we had a single rotation, and it's still got a single rotation. It's just dropped it from the upper to the lower column. So that's still planar. It's just that second joint here in the arm that we have to be aware of. And then the wrist is still fine. I could actually, just watch this. I'm just going to take this lower arm, and I'm just going to rotate it on the, I'm going to rotate it forward a tiny bit on the Y. And you'll see that that ends up in the upper here. Notice that's in the upper column up here. And then to bring it down, I just go to modify, and I'll go freeze transformations. And then you'll see now it's in the lower. This is something that is so critical when you guys are setting your rigs up, to make sure that these orients are correct, and to make sure that these future IK chains are planar. If you get this wrong at this point, if you work it forward and you get all your controls and stuff set up, there's no way to come back and fix this without taking everything apart. So just be aware of that. If you want to get credit for this, and if you want it to be correct from the start, get it right from the start. And then you're not going to have to go back and redo it. Although, I mean, if you are doing it twice or 3 times, I mean, repetition is good for learning, right? But if you're in a time crunch or something like that, it can be quite frustrating. So I'm going to stop that there.